Okay, we're live. Welcome to another town hall. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We'll get some notes up here. Small group today. We just lost John. Hopefully he'll reconnect. I'm not sure if Sarah's going to be able to join us. Hi, Marty. Okay, so we'll hold off on action items. So we just got a couple of things in there for John. Actually, this one is done. That was to draft the Lumio proposal, which we will take a look at. I was going to ask John about the e-NABLE fund. I noticed that it dropped by about $3,000. So we must have had some kind of an expense come up. So we'll come back to that. Maybe we'll just start with these posts. I think Sarah put these in here. There's quite a lot of them. I don't know if we're going to get through all these. I'm going to look at as many as we can. Thought we already talked about this one. Yeah, they were recommending that we sell different kits by different sizes. I wonder if these might be from last week. It says 616 posts, but Marine student project. Yeah, we looked at these. Okay, I'm going to skip down the list. Yeah, this was the one that she translated. This is from last week. There's John's post about Lumio. We don't need to look at that. Eric, HRI hand. So this is from Eric Bubar. Let's see, he's been working on a different design approach for e-NABLE devices that uses 4-bar linkages for movement instead of the usual flexible tendon fishing line approach. That sounds great. Well, tell you what, I'm curious. It's only a minute and a half. I'm going to play this.
So here's what the linkage-based finger looks like. You've got a 4-bar linkage in here, so that when you close the finger, it always closes the exact same way and always opens the exact same way. And opening and closing is predictable because the distances that it's traveling always the same. No strings to stretch, no elastic to break or to wear out. It's all solid. 7 screws for each finger, all M2 screws, just different lengths, and it's all actuated by linear movement of this little piston part right here. So when we push this forward, close, and when we pull it back, it opens. So this is the kind of change to typical e-NABLE designs that I'm working on, because literature shows this is kind of what they use in commercial prosthetics, and it's a little more robust to kind of side impacts. And we'll be testing all of that in working with this as we move forward in the research lab. And I'll share as we get to different milestones where I think this might be useful. Feel free to use the Fusion files and just put up whatever you create and share with everybody else.
Very cool, Eric. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I really look forward to seeing that actually, worked into a hand. Just watching him manipulate it, I can't help but wonder, it looks like there's maybe some resistance, like it might not be. I'm wondering about how much force is going to be required, given the angle and the size of the piece that's actually triggering the movement. So I look, and especially when you kind of multiply that by 5, because there's going to be 5 of these on a device. I'm very curious to see how that operates. It looks like a great mechanism. Anyone else have any thoughts or comments or questions for Eric while we're looking at this? No? Okay. Welcome, Tainara, and welcome back, John.
I just got back. If there's something, I get back. If there's something you think I should comment on, you'll have to brief me.
The only thing, John, was I noticed that the e-NABLE fund dropped by about $3,000. Was there something that came through?
I was
No
catching up on the posting on Open Collective.
Oh,
And
okay.
there were a couple months where I forgot to put up the media fellowship payments. So that's
Got
what
it.
that was.
Okay. So we were just getting caught up there. No problem. Thank you, Evan. Welcome. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, so we just looked at Eric. Let's take a look at this one, Will Smith. I'm sure that's not the same Will Smith we all know. Let's see. Wanting to learn CAD. Anyone have recommendations for good learning resources? Okay, good. Somebody recommended a YouTube channel. Skip recommended Tinkercad. And Hank, let's see, Onshape, yeah, right. So, okay, it looks like people are recommending CAD platforms more than learning courses, but that's fine. I think, yeah, I would think YouTube would have a lot of good tutorials. I think it really depends on what level of CAD he wants to be able to get into. I mean, for more advanced, I agree Onshape is really good, but you also have Fusion 360. And as far as I'm aware, I think they're still offering free licenses for hobbyists and people doing the kind of work that we are, unless they've changed that policy. And there are some great courses out there for Fusion 360. That was the one I learned in. But yeah, it looks like this has already gotten some good comments to address his question. Let's see, another one from, is this the same Eric? Yeah, another one from Eric. Anyone have a 3D scan of a partial hand that's missing some fingers? He wants to build a testing rig. It involves adding a motor into the wrist of a real anatomical scan. Interesting. I'm trying to think. We did collect some 3D scans. Trying to remember where we collected those. It might have been on Google Drive. Let's see. I might have to go and look for this later. I'm pretty sure that we started gathering some. We had a space. Actually, that's true. We set up a space for 3D scan data. And I wonder if there's any in here. Available data let's see, can be found here. Let's see what this is. Okay, so there are some sample scans here. These are all STLs. I'm not going to take the time to go through these, but maybe we could just let him know that there is this resource available. It looks like somebody already offered him one. I can't tell if anyone has given him the actual scan data. I see JPEGs, but I don't see anyone giving him actual. Oh, here. So yeah, it looks like he sent it to his email. Okay, so he's got something. I'm just going to say not sure if there's anything with partial anatomy here, but feel free to look at these just to give them something else. Okay. Daryl, printer size. Let's see, which size 3D printer do you need to print hands? Holly says the printer doesn't have to be large for hands. Arms are a different matter. She's recommending a 15-centimeter bed. I would agree. That's kind of a typical size, which is, I always just recommend, stay away from the mini size 3D printers, but anything else, like she's saying, about 150 millimeters or so would be sufficient for most designs. And I know that there's people on the hub that have taken some of the larger parts for the arm designs and have split them into multiple pieces so that people with more average size 3D printers can handle them. So that might be helpful as well. I think Holly's comment here is sufficient, so I'm not going to take the time to write anything else on that one. Let's see, Rishab, unlimited arm. Having trouble with the angling of the forearm piece 90 degrees of the hand as described in the video. Okay. Holly's saying that's tricky, especially if working alone. She got a student to hold the heat gun while she twisted the arm piece, et cetera, et cetera. Rishab, thanks, that helped. I was wondering if you had any tips on how to use the tensioner screws and also the Velcro straps. Okay, so I don't have really any experience with the arm design, so I'm not really in a good position to help here, but it looks like he's already connected with Holly, who's giving some good advice. Does anybody else have any recommendations here as far as, I'm not even sure what the question is, how to use the tensioner screws and the Velcro straps after stringing the arm. I mean, using the tension screws is usually just a matter of tightening or loosening the screws to adjust tension on the lines. I'm not sure if this question goes beyond that. So I'll just ask, does anybody have anything to add here? Okay, last one, we have a violinist here. Let's see, bow holder for the hand without the forearm part. Author's design of the holder. The socket is a modification of the socket from the Quau design. Connection with a FI 16 pipe. I don't know what that is, which must be adjusted to the length of the recipient. The first test of a young violinist. Well, that's very cool. It's a kind of a low resolution photo, so I can't see too well, but it looks like that blue piece there is the part that's actually holding the bow. Very cool. Yeah, I mean, I wish we had a high resolution photo, but oh, there's a video. Let's see. Oh, it wants me to download the video. Yeah, look at that. That's very cool. Gosh, it's just, there's nothing better than seeing kids being able to, you know, get into playing music where they might have had difficulty doing so without a device. That's what a wonderful use of these. Nice work, Christoph. I hope he's going to share that design. I wonder if that's something I could ask for your help with, Sarah. Would you mind maybe posting a follow-up comment on that, letting him know that we think it's wonderful, and ask if he plans to share his design?
Yeah, of course I can do that.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on here, next meeting is, I believe, today, right? The Education and New Member Meetup?
Yes, that is today, right after this.
Excellent. So hopefully some of you can join that. Okay, so I want to get into the Lumio proposal that we have going, or discussion, I should say. It's not really well, it is a proposal. It's a proposal for discussion. It's just not being voted on yet. So we put this up a week ago today, which is what our discussion period is supposed to be. So today's kind of the day where we have the option of turning this into a vote. There have been some comments. We'll take a quick look at these and maybe talk about it a bit here. I think everyone here probably is aware of this proposal. This is from Adam and Jason, his partner. They have a consulting firm, Wildmont, which I had mispronounced last time.
My fault for naming it so close to wildebeest.
No, Wildmont is a good name. It's really a wonderful proposal, I think, at least John and I think so, that is ambitious, but I don't think there could be anyone better suited to put this forward. Adam is not new to us. He has already demonstrated his abilities and has already had success in some of the things that he's talking about here. And so I'm very excited to see this move forward. We're talking, the goals of the proposal are summarized here. We're talking about improving member engagement, improving project and task management capabilities for our volunteers and chapters, improving community outreach through digital marketing and partnerships, improving connections with the medical community with supporting best practices for e-NABLE volunteers, and improving our fundraising and grant acquisition capabilities. And those are all outlined in some detail within the proposal, which is linked here. This is basically being proposed as a renewable contract, a 6-month contract, renewable with 40 hours per week of work built in, at a significantly discounted rate, 40 hours per month. Did I say that? 40 hours per month, 10 hours per week of work built in at a very discounted rate. And so I'm just going to skip down rather than going through the proposal again, which we've, I think, covered in depth here before. John posted a comment here saying that he's very much in favor of it, and basically echoing what I just said, that we've already seen a lot of results from Adam, and that he and I are convinced this could be good for our community. Richard Vandermeer says, I see this as a positive tool to enhance our reach around the world. I'm all for it. Andrew Kaiser, this sounds like an excellent way to utilize our funds. I'm very excited to see what come of this. Aggie Gonda, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, thumbs up. Eric Bubar, basically expressing a little bit of concern about the scale of work being proposed and in comparison with the time of 10 hours per week, and kind of wondering, can we do everything that's outlined here, in the sort of hours that are being proposed. And rather than me go through this, Adam, maybe you could kind of summarize your thoughts or your response here for that one.
Yeah, sure. So I think Eric's point is an excellent one. And this is something that Jason and I went back and forth on. I know that we discussed a little bit before. I was even sold on the idea of putting forward a proposal from Wildmont for e-NABLE. But given, to be very frank, given e-NABLE's bank, we tried to find a spot that would allow us to put forward something sustainable that would allow us to function in more of a consistent way, rather than getting in, trying to get a whole bunch of things done in a short time frame and then hoping that that was enough time. What we're trying to do is, first off, prioritize community engagement and increasing the bank. I think Jason, once the contract is signed, I was hoping he'd be able to join today. Unfortunately, he's actually on vacation currently, but he needed to take a sort of last minute mental health day and took off to, I believe he was headed to Miami this time around. But Jason has a knack for fundraising. I have experience in the realm of grant proposal writing, and I think that between the two of us, and also given Jason's predilection to sales and marketing and digital campaigns, I think that we can, if we're attacking this first, get e-NABLE to a point where we can sustain much more initiatives like this, and we can hopefully, if all goes according to plan, start to make this organization capable of supporting a wider array of roles and trying to address that core problem that we've talked about so many times, which is relying upon a fully volunteer work base, which has proved to not be sustainable in the long term. So by taking this in sort of a slow and measured approach to try to prioritize this fundraising, try to prioritize a little bit more ownership from community members to step into these kinds of roles, I think that we can plan on some longer term success. And I don't know if all of that was really articulated well in my response to Eric, but I think, and I believe that John and Jeremy, based on our conversations, you all agree with me. I think that sounds like the best way to approach this, at least from the beginning.
Okay. I just want to take a quick moment to, well, I was going to take a quick moment to say hello to Ben Rubin, who had popped in, but it looks like we lost him. So
shoot.
never mind. Hopefully he'll come back. It would have been nice to say hi to him. John, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to provide some perspective here. 10 years ago, e-NABLE was an accidental, really good idea. 2 years ago, Jeremy and I were saying, we feel we've sort of plateaued. We've taken e-NABLE as far as we are able to do, and we both have got increasing engagements elsewhere. And so we set out to find new leaders. Now we found Adam, we found Ian, we found Rick, although Rick has had to step back. And since then, we also lost the person who was doing our fundraising. So, and at the same time, that person, Bob Rieger, left us with a nice relationship with the Dora Foundation, which has led to the existence of an underutilized e-NABLE fund. Given all of that, I think we're in a good position to say that e-NABLE is no longer just a good idea, but it's sort of an established enterprise. It has it has a long past, and it has a long-term future. But now that we know that, and we have at least enough money to engage someone like Adam to take it forward, it's a really good moment and a really good opportunity for us to reconfigure and see if we can address the opportunities of the 2020s.
Yes, agreed. I missed Ben again. He popped in and looks like he must be having connectivity issues. Okay, so yeah, and I'm wondering if maybe we shouldn't just post a link to today's discussion in here as further, just kind of in the way of responding to some of these, giving people some further things to consider. But let's go through this next one first. Another comment here. This is from Bob Summerich. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. And basically, he's saying that he'd like to see a little bit more in terms of measurable goals, metrics. Specifically, how do we quantify, whether or not we've achieved our goals? And he's offering some examples here, in terms of improved member engagement, number of views increased by X views in the first 3 months, and so on, and then number of new members increasing by so many in the first so many months, that kind of thing. So. Adam, maybe you'd want to share your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, I Googled Bob after I read his response, and I think that he is, it looks like he works in product development. So I'm not at all surprised that he's taking a target-based approach. And I think that's exactly what we plan to do. We didn't include specific targets in our proposal because we didn't want to guide the community's priorities. I mean, really, we want to kick things off with what we call our base camp exercise, where we try to do a little bit of due diligence to get the lay of the land. I mean, I've had a ton of conversations with the people on this call. I think I've been less good as outreach coordinator with reaching out to just various members of the community. And I'd really like to give people a chance to identify, what are the areas they're primarily interested in working toward? What do they see the function of e-NABLE being in their own individual projects? And I think that trying to establish some kind of forum where people can, voice their opinions about what e-NABLE can and should be working toward is an important first step. That's not to say that, the people on this call who are, highly engaged in attempting to make e-NABLE a going concern, as John put it, for the rest of this decade, shouldn't have input either. I think that trying to get everyone to the table and identifying what the priority should be, and then setting those benchmarks, setting those targets would be the best way to go about it. I realize that's a very easy answer for me saying, no, I don't want to get metrics. But
I think that makes a lot of sense, Adam. And I also want to point out that I think that it would maybe be a lot easier to argue for wanting these kinds of quantifiable targets and everything if you were somebody that we hadn't had experience with. If you were just coming to us and saying, hey, here's something I think I can do. As somebody that we've been working with for quite some time and we've seen the results of your work already, personally, that makes me feel a lot more confident. I mean, I look at this as just we're basically just engaging for a certain amount of guaranteed time with two very skilled individuals. There's no question that there's going to be value in that, and I like the idea of kind of allowing that initial analysis to guide the specifics of those efforts.
I will also say, I appreciate that, Jeremy. I also want to point out that I'm not sure that the KPIs that Bob has laid out here are necessarily the things that would translate to increasing the likelihood of success as we're defining it. I think that we need to kind of first and foremost identify what it is we want to accomplish more broadly, which is something that I think has been intentionally not really defined. But I think that moving forward, if we're going to be doing these kind of target-based initiatives, it would be very helpful, or at least from a consultant's point of view, it would be helpful for me to know, like, beyond just like a X number of people engaging with X number of posts, what do we want that to translate into? Are we trying to reach more recipients? Are we trying to bring in more clinicians to the community? Are we trying to get integrated into specific healthcare systems and trying to raise our profile among practitioners? I think that's why we really didn't set those targets, because we still don't really have a clear idea about what our overarching goals are. So I'd really like that to be the focus of the first phase of our engagement, so that we can spin out priorities that are a little bit more focused and a little bit more impactful down the line.
Right. Okay, John?
2 points. One is, when Ben Rubin wrote his proposal for communications coordinator, it had all sorts of really well thought out benchmarks
That's
and
right.
key performance indicators, and they all turned out to be the wrong ones. In practice, as Ben got into it, he realized there were some really great opportunities, and he seized them, and he developed sort of our modern ongoing process. So
And yet,
just to say,
there was
right.
no doubt there was a lot of value, and has continued to be a lot of value in his work and the foundations he laid. So yeah,
Right. It was the deal. It was the deal of the century. But if we had held him to his metrics, it all would have fallen apart. The second thing is that this is not an open-ended proposal. We have periodic reviews built into it, and even without periodic reviews, if these guys don't manage to succeed on some of their grants or funding activities, it's going to be self-limiting for all of us.
That's right. That's a good point.
There are built-in checks and balances here.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's important to remember, I don't know that it's as important to have all of this quantified up front, because again, I think Adam has already sort of demonstrated very solid abilities in these specific areas. But let's keep in mind that 6 months from now, they are definitely going to be able to, show us exactly what impact they've had. And I'm confident that they'll be able to make that very clear to us when it comes time to vote on whether or not we renew this contract. And so I think that's the point at which it will be reasonable to expect some kind of quantification or measure of success. I think that'll be a lot more reasonable then.
I also just want to drive home, I am a very target-oriented person myself. I just don't want to John's point, I don't want to set a bunch of metrics that we're going to have to abandon 3 or 4 weeks in, as we realize that priorities are shifting. So I actually have a response here to Bob's post that I'll drop at the end of this call.
Okay, great.
But no, I absolutely am in line with Bob's way of thinking. That's how I manage my day-to-day in my own position, and I think that it's trying to identify what those metrics should be should definitely be our first step.
All right. Well, then, given everything we've talked about here, I guess we should talk about next steps. I'm going to, I guess, make a motion here that we should move forward. I'm going to give you a chance to post your comment. I'll wait until you respond there to Bob. But after that, I think I should go ahead and start the voting process. I will also share a comment linking to this video so that people can listen in on the discussion that we've had here and your comments, Adam. But at that point, I think we should go ahead and get the voting process started. That'll run for a 10-day period as required by our policy. And then we can get to work, hopefully. How does that sound, everyone? Does anybody have any? I see a thumbs up from John. Does anybody object? Please, if you have any concerns, please share them now. Okay. Well, I will take the silence as a sort of a tacit approval to move forward as outlined. Okay, well, that's exciting. I really do think that this could be one of the best things that we've done for the community, and I think it can lead to some really wonderful forward progress. So I'm excited to see this get going. Okay, I see that we have Tainara here today. Tainara, I'm so glad you could join us. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'd love to get any updates if you have any, just in terms of working as e-NABLE's clinical coordinator. And oh, there you are. Hi.
Hey, hi,
Yes.
how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. I have a meeting yesterday with Adam, and we discussed some points, we need to do to bring more clinicians to the e-NABLE. And I show him what I think about the guide. Oh, I forgot the name in English. Just a minute.
Guide works.
Healthcare. Thanks. Guide works. Thank you. I forgot. Sorry, but I show him what I think about and the points, and we discuss some points, and we're going to create a drive to put some ideas there, and that's what I'm doing now.
Excellent. Excellent. And
Okay.
I assume that you'll be able to share that work with us at some point when it's further along, right?
Of course, I can. I don't know if I can share my screen now, but I have the print here. What I think about. Let me. Just a moment. Let me see if I can send in the chat. I don't know if it's
Yeah,
possible.
If there's a link to something, I can
Yeah,
share it from here.
yeah. Here is the.
Sorry
Okay.
about that.
I send in the chat the points we think about to the 3D
Okay, here.
Prestige
So let
guide
me
for
share my
healthcare.
screen
Yeah.
again. Second. There we
Okay.
go. Okay. So we're talking
Yeah.
about
So
how to, please, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, this is just what I think it's important to have in the 3D Prestige guide for healthcare professionals. So how to find a maker to make a prosthesis, and how to find the enable models, how to choose the right 3D perspective models, how to evaluate if the 3D printed prosthesis is in good quality, what can I do in the pre and post prosthetic process. So I
Wonderful.
think this is important to clinicians because I talked with Adam yesterday, and I think it's difficult to healthcare professionals understand how they can help with the 3D prosthesis, because if you don't understand about 3D printing, they think they can help. So
Agreed.
I think it's
And
important to bring that.
a sort of a related update here. I'll just mention, today I was looking at NIH. It looks like Ian and I don't know if it's an intern or formally, I know he was looking at getting a new internship going, but it looks like he does have somebody that's working on updating this. I see Jason Toffey here has been adding a lot of our designs. Whoops, sorry about that. Has been adding a lot of our current designs. So it looks like the NIH catalog is well underway. There's none of this was here the last time I looked. So it's rapidly growing. I will point out that this content at the top is grossly outdated. I did send new content there. These links are all bad. And so this needs to be replaced. It's all a little bit misleading what's up there right now, but I did send them new content and new links. They just haven't gotten to update that yet. So hopefully they'll do that soon. But as far as the catalog itself goes, it looks like they're making really wonderful progress on populating our designs into this. So this might be a good piece of what you were talking about in terms of how these medical professionals kind of find the right design, because they have, among other things, they have some filters over here where you can kind of, it looks like this has more to do with the 3D printing technologies. So this might be more useful to the makers. I would hope that we're going to expand these filters over here to include things like, the type of device you're looking for, types of, anatomical conditions, et cetera, that would be more useful to medical practitioners. This is, of course, a work in progress, but it's very nice to see this moving forward with so many designs.
Yeah, that's what I think about. Yeah, I will put this in the guide for healthcare because it's important to the healthcare professionals know what the materials they are using to do the prosthesis. Because I talked to Adam yesterday, and sometimes have some prostheses who use flexible materials, and it's different from PLA. So what's the difference? They even know. So I think this is important too.
Definitely, definitely.
So that's what
Tanera,
I'm thinking. Yeah.
Tanera, you probably know this, but this NIH site is the US government's National Institute of Health. So as you're reaching out to clinicians, they may be reassured by seeing that they have invested a fair amount of time and effort in bringing e-NABLE's resources to the professional healthcare community.
Yeah. I didn't know about that. I think I didn't listen so much so well.
Yeah, so in case you're not aware of this, Tainara, right now in the hub, if you go to this devices page here, we have
Yeah.
some of the recommended designs, and then if you click on see all devices, we do have this catalog of
Oh yeah.
designs here with quite a few, and each one of these has a fair amount of detail in there in terms of instructions and links to files and tutorials and all that. And basically what Ian and his team are in the process of doing is kind of migrating this over to the NIH platform and expanding it with all of the latest designs that never made their way into here. And so that, you know, we're a little bit in between two places now. We kind of have some things here and some things there, but we're you know, that the NIH site will end up being kind of the master repository of all of the e-NABLE designs, and you know, hopefully that will sort of lend a little bit more credibility to those designs as well, just given the platform.
I use this link to find the designs,
Okay.
and I use this design sometimes to help people, but most of the designs don't have how to works, and it's something when you are a healthcare professional, you need to touch things to understand
Yes.
how it works. So sometimes it's difficult to understand how the processes works because I can't touch. So when I touch, I understand and everything. So I think this is what it's the missing part of the processes to healthcare professionals. They see how it works and they understand that part. That's my idea of the guide.
Excellent. Yeah. And it looks like they are populating in the details here. I see, I'm just looking at one as an example, and I see they have links to the STL files, links to the color customizer, which lets you kind of preview the device in different color designs. And I don't know what output file specification. Oh, that's empty. So anyway, it's a work in progress, but it is nice to see so much forward progress on this, and so many designs making their way in here. So in fact, I assume Ian will be attending the next meeting here, the education and new members meetup. So maybe he'll have updates on this. I don't know if any of you are around, but feel free to join that next session. You might get more information there. Wonderful. Any other updates, Tainar? Anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Just that for now. Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's great to
Thank you
have
Can
very
you.
much.
can
Yeah,
I
Adam,
put
go ahead.
my
Yeah.
2 cents in because I can never keep my yap shut? Uh, Tainar and I talked for a good long bit last night, and we're really excited about how we can leverage social media in trying to further these goals. She has done a lot of work in producing video content. She talked about putting together a YouTube channel to try to raise e-NABLE's profile among clinician communities.
That's a great
And I
idea.
think that if we can iterate that, you know, across different regions and in different languages, and we can bring in clinicians in, you know, different parts all over the globe, I think that this is an amazing opportunity to really expand the types of communities that e-NABLE can reach and support. You know,
You know,
I've talked a little.
let me add one thing for you to think about, Adam. I think I've mentioned this in the past, but as a nonprofit, we have there's a program called Google for Nonprofits that we have
Yep.
membership in, and that entitles us to, among other things, unlimited free advertising on the Google platform.
I remember.
And I don't think that's limited to just their search ads, the ones that show up on the website. I believe that would also include YouTube video ads, those ones that appear, you know, when you're trying to watch your YouTube content, you get the ads at the beginning. I believe we might be able to put up, if you can come up with some short, like 30-second compelling videos to grab people's attention, we should be able to run those as YouTube video ads, and that could get a lot more attention then, because
Yeah,
medical professionals might be looking at other videos and one of ours could pop up and they might not find us otherwise. So
yeah, and another thing is, there are community specific Twitter spaces, community specific TikTok spaces. There's a lot I think that we can do to just kind of get a picture of a badass kid playing the violin, for example,
right. Yeah.
or anything where people would want to be part of that. To try, and I think again, this is where it's good to maybe take a step back and say, what are we actually trying to accomplish?
Right.
Tanar and I also have a lot of ideas about what e-NABLE really could or should be in terms of an adjunct in the healthcare space. And I think that as the months, the next few months come by, I think we've got some really exciting ideas about what shape our community members might be taking and how we can support them in reaching out to healthcare practitioners and supporting more than just amputees, not to minimize the initial mission here, but I think the 3D printing is really limitless. And speaking of other applications, I know I'm going long, but I've got a talk with Chad Lehman that's going to be starting in about 15 minutes here in the next call. And I think we'll be touching on a lot of these topics as well.
That's great. And I'll just mention, I actually, I'm still using my business's phone number as kind of a support line for e-NABLE, because e-NABLE doesn't have a phone number. So on the e-NABLE in the Future website, there's still a page that says, hey, if you want to reach out and talk to somebody, our 800 number is listed. And actually just the other day, I had a call from a gentleman who's he's an elementary school teacher who has a limb difference himself, and he's looking to potentially not only get a device, but he is also interested in getting involved in the community. But he reached out to say, hey, I understand I'm supposed to be kind of working with my, with my doctor on this. And before I go and, make an appointment there, I just wanted to reach out and find out, like, what should I be asking? What should I be telling my doctor? What, and I couldn't really give him very clear answers. I said, basically, that's, I explained that this is stuff that we're actively working on, that we're going to have much better guidance in the months to come. But I said, basically, I think right now it's just, important that you have a doctor in the loop, and, that once you're working with a volunteer, making sure that they're connected, that doctor is part of the process and involved in, before you get a device and after you get a device, making sure that it's being fit properly and used properly, et cetera.
And we have so many university chapters in the US, at least. And I mean, doctors should know what e-NABLE is. Yeah. And we should have e-NABLE members speaking to med school groups to let them know as they enter the field, there's this new burgeoning a field of volunteer makers who can really help a wide swath of patients with a wide array of diagnoses and functional deficits. And I think that in the next decade, I think that we could really reinvent and hugely expand the scope of the kind of things that we do and where we do them.
Very exciting. Well, folks, I'm going to have to go ahead and get this wrapped up here. Among other things, we do have that next meeting coming up here, and I want to give people a chance to get ready for that. But Adam, if I could ask, when, like I said, I'm going to give you a chance to respond to Bob's comment there.
Yeah, I just am wrapping this up right now.
Yeah, no problem. Take your time. Just shoot me a message if you would. Let me know when you're done with that, and then I can go in and I'll post a link to this video and go ahead and turn on the voting process there, and we'll get that started. And I unfortunately have a conflict, so I'm not going to be able to join the next meeting. I wish I could, but I hope some of you will. And otherwise, does anybody else have anything else that we need to talk about before we wrap up here?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Well, thank you all. Nice to see you all as usual, and see you next week.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.